It can be a tough choice choosing an engine under the hood of a Ford F-150. This thing offers more engine options than all of its competitors. You have that base naturally aspirated V6, 2 different EcoBoosts with 3 different outputs, a 5-liter naturally aspirated V8, and then the newest engine to join the lineup is this one right here, a 3-liter Power Stroke turbo diesel. Now, probably the biggest factor on which engine you get is the price. So let's go for a drive in this truck and discuss whether this Power Stroke diesel is really worth the money. So to decide whether it's worth it, first you need the cost. So in the US, this diesel is a $4,000 option, and here in Canada, this diesel is a $7,500 option. And while that may not seem like so much money by itself, the other catch is that you have to get a Lariat or higher trimmed F-150 just to be able to get the Power Stroke. Now that means that in the US, the cheapest possible diesel F-150 you can get is gonna cost $45,000, while here in Canada, the cheapest possible diesel you can buy is gonna be $58,000. Both of those trucks are super cab F-150s with the mid-size bed and just 2-wheel drive. And if you don't want to go for the diesel and still get a Lariat, this truck comes standard with the 2.7-liter EcoBoost engine. And then of course prices can skyrocket from there. A good example is this Lariat I'm in here. It has a ton of options on it. Things like the adaptive cruise control with stop and go, a rear bed step, a spray and bed liner, all kinds of different things. And this truck sells for $81,000 here in Canada. And here is the as tested US price. So once you know how much the diesel is worth, probably the first thing to look at and consider is the fuel economy difference and how much money that is going to save you. So this diesel, as it sits here with 4-wheel drive, is rated at 25 miles per gallon on the highway, 20 miles per gallon in the city, for a combined average of 22 miles per gallon. Now it is true that this Ford diesel can be rated at 30 miles per gallon on the highway. You've probably heard that number, but that is only for 2-wheel drive trucks. Once you get 4-wheel drive and this transfer case, you get a 355 rear end, and all of that stuff comes together to bring the fuel economy down to 25 miles per gallon. All right, now for comparison, the big EcoBoost, the 3.5 liter, gets 23 miles per gallon on the highway, 17 in the city for just 19 miles per gallon combined. And then if you look at the naturally aspirated 5.0 V8, it gets 1 mile per gallon worse than that 3.5 at 22 on the highway, 16 in the city, and 18 miles per gallon combined. So just comparing the diesel to the big EcoBoost, you're looking at a 3 mile per gallon difference. So now that we have those numbers, we can do some math and figure out how much fuel these trucks will use over 1 year. Now I used an average of 10,000 miles driven in 1 year just to keep the math pretty simple. So here's how the math shakes out. If you drive 10,000 miles a year and you're paying these prices for gas and diesel, now these are the average prices for the US taken from AAA, you're gonna be saving $56 if you drive the 3-liter. Now if you go for that base 2.7-liter EcoBoost, well, it's even more efficient, and you're actually gonna save some money just based on the fact that diesel right now is so much more expensive than gas. So what about a more efficient version of the diesel? Well, if you do get a 2-wheel drive truck, it's rated at 25 miles per gallon average. We're gonna give it 26 miles per gallon, be a little bit generous. Say you can beat the rating by 1 mpg, and compare it to that 4x4 EcoBoost, and you're gonna save $280 a year. And how about where diesel is cheaper? Well, in the lovely state of Mississippi, diesel is the cheapest in the country right now according to AAA. And if you live in that state, you can save if you drive the diesel, a 2-wheel drive diesel, over a 4-wheel drive big EcoBoost. And then we can also crank up the mileage just to see how much you're going to save if you're a real high miler. So based on 25,000 miles a year and those average fuel prices with a 4x4 diesel versus a 4x4 EcoBoost, you're going to save $700 a year, which is actually not bad, but 25K is quite a bit of driving. And for all the Canadian viewers, here is the metric math. And that doesn't even factor in other costs associated with diesel engines, such as more expensive oil changes. Oil changes can be anywhere from $50 to $100 more expensive than in gas engines. And then DEF, you have to add the diesel exhaust fluid to this truck. Ford says that the range on one tank of DEF should be between 7,500 and 10,000 miles. But of course, that is based on how you drive, what altitude you're at, what temperature the truck runs at, and what speeds the truck runs at. So we've established that this diesel is not going to pay for itself that fast, and the price of entry is pretty expensive because you have to get at least a Lariat trim truck. But here's the thing, that is all how my head feels about it. That's all the math and the cold analytics. But let's be honest, people buy vehicles with their hearts based on what they like and what they enjoy. So now let's just talk about how this diesel drives and whether or not it provides, you know, something special for that money that can't exactly be quantified. So this diesel makes 250 horsepower and 440 pound-feet of torque. And I'm coming up to a stop sign right now, so let's put all the torque to use. I'm putting it into sport mode. Yes, this thing has sport mode. All F-150s do now. And like I said, here's the stop sign. Dead stop. I'm gonna preload a little and floor it. Let's see how it feels. Oh yeah, laid a bit of rubber down there. Nice. This F-150 has a really smooth power delivery. So when the power comes on, you never really kind of get this uneven hit of power. It feels linear, which is good and bad. You know, it feels good, but you do want that kind of punch in the gut of torque down low. And this diesel doesn't really feel like it has it. In terms of diesel noise, in the cabin here, it's very quiet. This power stroke is totally muted, and until you put your foot deep into it, it's honestly hard to tell it's a diesel at all. Now, from the outside, it certainly sounds more diesel-y, and I think it sounds really nice. It has a bit of a low, throaty growl. It's not too high-pitched or anything, even though it's a small little 3-liter. Inside, it's kind of hard to tell it's a diesel, but if you want something that's just luxurious and quiet, this is it. Now, part of the reason why the diesel might feel like that and why Ford didn't really push the power numbers is because this is a pretty old engine, actually. This same diesel, or a diesel very similar to it, has been used in Land Rover products for a number of years. So it's not like Ford went out and designed a brand new diesel engine for its F-150. They kind of took one they had on the shelf that was left over from their Land Rover days when they used to own the brand, and that they still built for Land Rover. So if Ford had gone out and made a brand new engine, maybe we would have got something with more power and more torque, and it would have been a little more compelling. But in this package, like I said, I'm speaking from the heart now, and I do like diesels. I tend to gravitate towards a diesel truck over a gas truck. This truck just doesn't really sway me. I don't find myself loving this diesel, probably because it just doesn't feel like it has that big wave of torque that I'm used to and that I like in a diesel engine. So besides the fact that the costs don't add up, the heart factor here, for me anyways, it doesn't really add up either. So yeah, this diesel's not really appealing to my head or my heart. And the real final sort of nail in the diesel's coffin, I think, is just how good the EcoBoost engines are. The 2.7 is fuel efficient, or can be fuel efficient, and then it's also very powerful. And the 3.5 is just straight up powerful. I mean, in 2019, you're going to be able to get the high output version, 510 pound-feet of torque, and because it's turbocharged, they actually make peak torque at fairly low RPMs. So it's not like the really peaky engines. You still get lots of good grunt down low. And yeah, for me, if I'm getting an F150, it's probably going to be an EcoBoost and not this 3-liter diesel. So what do you guys think? There's so many choices in the F-150 lineup that I'm sure prospective buyers can get a little bit confused. Now, like I said, I wouldn't go for the diesel. I'd probably take the 3.5 EcoBoost, but I'm also not buying one of these trucks. Maybe you are. So why don't you let us know in the comments below which engine you would get. And as always, guys, make sure you subscribe to TFL Truck and come back here for the latest news, views, and real-world reviews. See ya. Country roads take me home to the place where I belong, West Virginia. My mama, take me home, a country road where I belong, West Virginia. My mama, a country road, take me home. Country road, take me home to the place where I belong, West Virginia. My mama, country road.